In this lesson, I'd like to show you how to create and run a make table query. A make table query takes the dataset result from running a query and actually turns it into a separate table. This can be very useful for archiving data and then deleting the records that you've archived, helping to maintain the size of your database. I'll start by just building a simple select query. Go to Query Design, and then out here I'll go ahead and pull in a few tables. I'll pull in the customers, I'll pull in orders, order details, and products. I'll pull in the customer name, I'll pull in the unit price and the quantity, the product name, make that first. Got quantity twice here, so I'll go ahead and delete part of that. And then I'll go ahead and run this. And I see I got this data set out here. Now maybe I only want to take those records that were existing in 1996. So in the criteria cell, I'll say star slash 1996, and I'll just turn that off because I don't want to see it. And when I run it, I don't get the 2155 records. I get 405 records, and those are the records just from 1996. Now back in Design View, I want to turn that into a separate table. So what I'll do is click on Make Table, and then under here I'll go ahead and give this a name, and I'll just call this MT for Make Table Orders 1996. Call this whatever you'd like. I'm going to store this in my current database, so when I make the table you should see it exist out here. But you could also drop this into another database if you'd like, perhaps an archive database, and you've just got to point your browser to that database, and then the table will be saved out into that area as well. But I'm going to dump this in the current database. I'm going to click OK. Now that doesn't make the table. What this does is just set the thing up. To actually run the action query, you have to click on the little exclamation mark, and you can see that under your action queries here they've got a little black exclamation mark, also the delete, and you want to click on run to make that happen. It'll warn you that you're about to paste 500, in this case 405 rows into a new table. I'll say yes, and now you see we have a new table called MT Orders 1996, and if I double click that, it opens up this table with the results from the data set. Now, I could save this query if I'd like, and then anytime I want to pull this data set, I could go ahead and do so. So if I close this query and save changes, I could go ahead and give this a name as well. And I'll just call this query MT orders, MT for make table. And I'll click OK. And now I see my query MT orders out here. Now notice that it has a little exclamation mark next to it, and this is to get your attention. That's to let you know that this is an action query, and what that means is if you come out here and double click it, it won't open up like your normal select queries that you've created in the past. If you double click, it'll warn you that you're about to run a make table query, and if you say yes, it'll go ahead and try to perform this action again, and it's telling you that it's going to delete this table that was out there before and replace it with this new data set. And if you say yes, you would come out here and it tells you you're going to paste 405 rows into the new table. So I'll just say no. So be aware of that. If you want to open this thing up to go back into design, you could right click it, go into Design View, change the year, say from 1996 to 1997, and if you run the make table again, it'll ask you for a name. You could go ahead and just pop in a new name, and then I'll click OK, and when I run it this time, I'll say yes, and it's going to go ahead and pull in records for 1997, and it stomps on the old table as well. So make sure that you change the name each time that you go in, and that way you can archive this and you won't be stomping on the old table.